Hi friends, it's time for the final chapter of Unspoken Goodbyes. Catch any episodes you missed in the description, then settle in. Please like, share, and subscribe for more amazing tales. Let's begin. The healing wasn't loud. It wasn't made of grand moments or big decisions. It came in soft ways, quiet, steady, almost invisible. Like waking up and not reaching for her phone first thing to check if he texted. Like walking past the cafe they used to visit and not feeling that sudden, sharp ache in her chest. Like hearing his name in a conversation and simply breathing through it instead of freezing. Paige was rebuilding, not rushing, not pretending, but choosing to come home to herself piece by piece. At first, the loneliness was loud. The kind that echoed through her apartment at night. The kind that made dinner for one feel empty. But gradually, Paige learned that being alone wasn't the same as being lonely. She began to enjoy her own company again. She'd light a candle, pour herself a cup of tea, and write in her journal. She started taking herself out, something she used to avoid. Solo bookstore dates. Dinner at a quiet restaurant with a good book as her company. Even one afternoon movie where she sat in the back row with a tub of popcorn and tears that didn't need hiding. She wasn't waiting for someone to make her whole anymore. She was learning she already was. There were days she still missed him. Moments when she wanted to call, tell him about a new job opportunity, or the silly thing her coworker said, or the dream she had last night that felt so real he was right there beside her again. But she didn't call. Instead, she'd sit with those feelings. Let them rise, let them pass. Like waves, one evening she opened that unsent email again. She read it slowly, word by word. And this time when she finished, she smiled, not sadly but with gratitude. Then, without hesitation, she deleted it, not out of anger, but because she had said it all. She didn't need to carry those words anymore. People often believe closure must come from the other person. A final talk, an apology, an explanation. But Paige was learning that closure was something she could give herself. It wasn't about understanding why Peter left. It wasn't about fixing the ending. It was about accepting that it ended, that it had served its purpose. That it was beautiful even if it didn't last. That sometimes love is not meant to stay but to teach. And Peter, he had taught her so much, about connection, about patience, about letting go, but most of all about herself. Paige signed up for a weekend retreat on self-discovery and mindfulness, something she'd been too hesitant to do before. There, amidst strangers and silent reflections, she reconnected with dreams she had forgotten. She remembered how much she loved photography. She remembered how good it felt to journal freely. She remembered that her life was her own, and she didn't need to shrink it to fit into someone else's. When the retreat ended, she felt lighter. Not healed, but healing. And that was more than enough. One afternoon, while walking through a farmer's market, she paused at a table of handmade pottery. There was a small white bowl with gold seams running through it. Kintsugi, the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold. The artist smiled. We believe the cracks tell the story. The repair doesn't hide the damage, it makes it more beautiful. Paige's eyes welled up. She bought the bowl. And when she got home, she placed it by her window. A quiet reminder, she was cracked. She had broken. But she was rebuilding with gold. Peace, finally Paige didn't hate Peter. She didn't love him the same either. She had made peace with the part he played in her story. And more importantly, she was writing new pages on her own terms. Her mornings were no longer about wondering who missed her. They were about asking, what does Paige want today? And for the first time in a long time, she didn't need anyone else to answer that for her. It had been nearly 6 months. Seasons had changed, so had she. Paige wasn't the same woman who had once cried herself to sleep wondering what went wrong. She had grown not just healed but flourished. She laughed more, slept better, spoke softer to herself. She had found a rhythm to life that wasn't attached to someone else's presence. And then, one ordinary Saturday, the universe decided to test the strength of that growth. She saw Peter again. She was at the art fair downtown with her friend Mia. Bright canopies lined the streets, soft music floated through the air, and the aroma of street food clung to every breeze. They were walking past a booth of watercolor landscapes when she heard it. A voice, familiar, slightly deeper, still unmistakably his. Yeah, I painted this one in the spring. She turned, And there he was, Peter, standing behind a table filled with small canvas prints, his hair a little longer, the beard slightly grown. He wore a simple blue shirt, sleeves rolled up, smiling as he talked to a customer. For a moment, she froze. Her heart beat faster, but not in panic, in surprise, because she had imagined this moment so many times. But this was... Calm, Mia noticed. "Do you want to leave?" Paige shook her head slowly. "No, I think I want to say hi." She waited until Peter finished talking to the customer. Then she approached. He saw her just as she stepped closer. His smile faded not into a frown, but into something quieter, more reflective. "Hi, Peter," Paige. He breathed out her name like a memory. "Wow, hi." They both stood there for a moment, just looking at each other. "You paint?" she asked, glancing at the booth. "Started a few months ago," he replied. "Therapy didn't work for me. This did." She nodded. "They're beautiful." He looked at her closely. "You look happy." "I am," she said softly. Peter smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I am really glad." They talked for a few minutes about work, art, how strange and small the world could be. It was polite, gentle, honest. And then there was silence again. This time it was not awkward, just real. "I thought about messaging you so many times," Peter finally said. "I know," she replied. "I did too. But maybe," he continued, "this right now is how it was supposed to be. You here, me here, just knowing we're okay." She smiled at him genuinely. "Yeah, we're okay." They didn't exchange numbers again. No promises to meet for coffee. No illusions of rekindling something that had already burned its brightest. They simply said goodbye with grace, not grief. And as Paige walked away, she didn't look back, because what they had wasn't undone. It was simply done. That evening, Paige opened her journal and wrote, "Sometimes love returns not to stay, but to show you how far you've come. Sometimes closure isn't a conversation, but a calm heart in a familiar moment. And sometimes healing isn't forgetting, it's remembering without pain." She smiled, closed the journal, and poured herself a glass of wine. That chapter is closed now, and she was ready for whatever story came next. The days following her chance meeting with Peter were not like the old days, filled with confusion or emotional setbacks. Instead, they brought a sense of peace Paige hadn't known she needed. She wasn't haunted by what-ifs. She wasn't consumed by questions. She had seen him. He was okay. She was okay. And now she could truly move forward, not with fragments of a love story in her pocket, but with the fullness of her own self rediscovered. For a long time, Paige had unknowingly measured her worth through the eyes of others, through validation, through affection, through the idea of being loved back. But now, she began to love herself in the quietest, most powerful way. She stopped rushing. She stopped explaining. She stopped shrinking. She gave herself permission to take up space in conversations, in rooms, in life. She decorated her apartment in colors she loved, not the neutral tones Peter preferred. She bought plants and learned how to care for them, watering them on Sunday mornings as she played her favorite songs in the background. She began journaling more deeply, writing not about pain or longing, but about dreams and healing and hope. She wasn't surviving anymore. She was living. A few months later, Paige started teaching weekend creative writing workshops at a local community center. It wasn't her career, but it was something that made her heart light up. There, she met people from all walks of life. She read poems from teenagers navigating their first heartbreaks and essays from grandmothers rediscovering joy after years of silence. Each story reminded her, love doesn't always end in forever, but it can still be worthwhile. One late night, after returning from her writing group, she sat down with a cup of tea and opened her journal again. She decided to write not to Peter but to herself. "Dear past me, you did your best. You loved deeply, gave fully, and held on even when it hurt. You thought losing him would break you, but it didn't. You bent, you cracked, but you rebuild yourself stronger than ever. You didn't lose yourself. You found yourself in the stillness, in the silence, in the space he left behind. I'm so proud of you. Keep going. Love me." She folded the page gently, tucked it between the chapters of her journal, and exhaled. A long, steady breath. Paige no longer looked for a person to complete her. She didn't scan every room wondering who might be next. She was open to love, yes, but not desperate for it, not afraid to be without it. She had learned that her heart was her own home, not a waiting room for someone else. She was dating again, slowly, thoughtfully. No more games, no more shrinking to fit into someone's world. She walked into each new connection not asking, "Will you choose me?" but rather, "Can we choose each other without losing ourselves?" And that shift, that confidence, was the most beautiful thing she had ever worn. One morning, she stood in front of her mirror. No makeup, hair messy, wearing a simple oversized sweatshirt and socks, and she smiled. A soft, real smile, because she no longer needed someone else to tell her she was beautiful, worthy, whole. She believed it now. In that moment, Paige knew the greatest love story she'd ever live was the one she was writing with herself. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. Sunlight streamed through Paige's apartment window, casting warm gold across the floor. The smell of fresh lavender from her new candle mixed with the soft hum of a record playing in the background. She had just finished organizing her bookshelf, arranging her favorites, some fiction, some poetry, and a few journals filled with pieces of her heart. Among them was the old notebook she used to write in when she first met Peter. She picked it up and smiled, not a sad smile, but one filled with gentle remembrance. That chapter of her life had ended, but it had left her stronger, softer, wiser, and now something new was beginning. Later that week, Paige received a message from the director of the community center where she taught writing. "Hey Paige, we're organizing a panel next month called Healing Through Words, a talk on heartbreak, personal growth, and creative expression. We'd love for you to be one of our speakers." Her heart skipped. Her talk publicly about something so personal. She hesitated, but only for a moment. Then she replied, "I'd be honored, count me in." When the day of the panel arrived, Paige wore her favorite maroon dress, elegant, simple, and completely her. She stood in front of a small audience, dozens of faces, some curious, some nervous, all ready to listen. And when she spoke, she didn't read a script. She spoke from her soul. She told them about love and how beautiful and fragile it can be. She spoke about heartbreak not as a tragedy, but as a teacher. She talked about how letting go isn't giving up, it's choosing yourself when something no longer serves your spirit. And she spoke about rebuilding, how healing isn't always graceful, but it's always worth it. When she finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then applause, not loud, not roaring, but warm and real. She stepped off the stage with tears in her eyes, not from sadness, but from pride. A few weeks later, during another workshop, a man named Aaron stayed back after class. He was in his early 30s, kind-eyed, quiet. He had written a piece about losing his wife to illness and finding hope through storytelling again. "That was a powerful piece," Paige said. He smiled. "Your feedback helped me find the courage to read it aloud. So, thank you." They talked for a while about grief, about art, about life. It wasn't electric. It wasn't fireworks, it was ease. Comfort, safety. Over the next few weeks, they continued to talk, over coffee, on long walks, through shared pages and stories exchanged. Paige didn't rush. She didn't compare. She simply allowed it to unfold. And in doing so, she discovered something she hadn't felt in a long time, not just love, but peace within love. This time, it's different. Aaron didn't try to fix her. He didn't ask her to be smaller or quieter or less sensitive. He listened. He remembered things she said. He made space for her. And she remained herself unapologetically. Together, they weren't perfect, but they were real. And that made all the difference. One evening, they were walking past that same cafe Peter and Paige had once visited. She glanced at it, smiled, and kept walking. Aaron noticed. "That place means something to you?" "It used to," she said. "Now it's just part of the story." He didn't ask more. He simply held her hand tighter, and that was enough. Paige had once thought love was found in fireworks, butterflies, and passionate declarations. Now she knew love is found in presence, in understanding, in the way someone stands by you, not just when you shine but when you tremble. She no longer chased it. She welcomed it, from a place of wholeness, not need. Paige sat down one evening, holding the journal in hand, and wrote, "If I could tell the girl I used to be one thing, I'd say this: you won't just survive the heartbreak. You'll bloom because of it. You'll become someone you admire. And when love returns, it won't complete you. It will meet you exactly where you already are, whole, worthy, and enough." She closed the journal. And just like that, The story that began with a shy smile in an office hallway had come to its final page. The journey ends here. Thank you for being part of it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories to come. See you in the next one.